In today's episode, I thought it'd be really fun to do one on self-care and stress management, because that is something that has become more and more important to me as I have taken on more leadership and I have stepped into the CEO role. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, you can always come on over to my YouTube channel where you can see, my crazy facial expressions and sometimes really slice in some behind the scenes from my life that are relevant for what we are talking about. But today I'm really excited to do this episode because this is a continuation of my CEO series. So if you're brand new to me or to my podcast, or certainly to the CEO series is really just, podcast episodes that I do that give an honest behind the scenes look at the rise to becoming a true CEO in your business. Because not everybody who is an entrepreneur, I would say, is a CEO, right? Sometimes when we start a business, we just want to be a solo entrepreneur. We're just a founder, or maybe we're just an operator or a practitioner. But to be a CEO really speaks to creating an organization. It speaks to leadership, right? To leading people, to leading strategy, to having vision, to doing all of these different things. And that is definitely the role that I find myself stepping into. Oh, how I long for the days when I was just a solo entrepreneur. I kid. I really enjoy my team and I enjoy a lot of the things that we're able to do now, but it's not all, just rainbows and Hershey's Kisses and sunshine, right? There's, a lot of new challenges that you face that really grow you and that really stretch you. And so I really wanted to do the CEO series just because I don't see a lot of people talking about this or documenting like what they're learning as they're going through this in real time. And so this is almost like the story of a girl on her journey to become a CEO and to build a global coaching organization. And right, this is like the behind the scenes of my actual life and the different things that I am thinking about. And so in today's episode, I thought it'd be really fun to do one on self-care and stress management, because that is something that has become more and more important to me as I have taken on more leadership and I have stepped into the CEO role. And it's something that is just really a requirement that I find that a lot of people don't prioritize. And I'm also thinking about this as well because I had another podcast episode that I did that talked about the lessons that I learned on a yacht cruise with several other entrepreneurial couples. And that trip in and of itself, even though I learned a lot of things when it comes to business, just based on the conversations that I had, that trip itself was like a form of self-care. Like it was an amazing chance to really blow off steam and to truly rest. I readily admit that I brought all my stuff, right? I brought my laptop, I brought my iPad, I brought my gimbal just in case I wanted to record content. But I'm really proud to say that I did not use any of it. I didn't bust any of it out, truly. I didn't open up my laptop once. I didn't pull out my iPad. I did pull out the gimbal, but I ended up not using it. I would pack it with me every day when we went on our excursions. And then I was like, who about to be doing this in Croatia? Nobody. I'm not doing that. So while I did record a lot of content, my husband and I, we just got it on our phones. And most of the time when I was on the yacht, again, so cool saying that, but when I was on the boat, I had my Kindle with me. And so I was reading a lot of books, I was relaxing, and I was engaging in conversations with the other entrepreneurs that were there. And so that was truly like a self-care trip. It was really amazing to blow off steam. And when I got back, I was like, wow, I need to do this more often, right? Because self-care is so important. So that's our discussion today. Some of the practices that I do to engage in self-care, but also just stress management, because you take on a lot of stress as you really grow in this role, as you seek to grow your company. So with that, let's talk about some self-care and stress management as a CEO. All right, so the first mindset shift that you're gonna have to take when it comes to thinking about self-care as a CEO as you try to grow your business is that self-care is not a luxury. Self-care is mandatory, right? And truly self-care should be mandatory for anyone, right? Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, or you work a traditional 9-to-5 job, or you're a volunteer, or you care for aging parents, you don't have to be a CEO to make self-care mandatory. But I have realized this because I haven't always made self-care mandatory. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs who are seeking to grow their businesses, who are seeking to grow in the CEO role, oftentimes there's this pride in not prioritizing self-care because you're like, I'm hustling, right? Every day I'm hustling, right? We're getting after it. And it's almost like this badge of honor of oh, Look how much sleep I don't get. Look how much work I do. Look how much self-care I don't engage in because I'm so committed and I'm so passionate about my cause and I'm so passionate about building this business. And, while that can work in the short term of just like brute force, grinding it out, putting in the hours, just building the business and doing all the things, I find that when you get to this level where you're transitioning from just being a founder or like a solo entrepreneur and you're really trying to be a CEO, which means you are trying to be the visionary leader of an organization, right? That is what a CEO does, like chief executive officer. I know that's like a general term, but it's really the chief vision officer. Like you're in charge of the ultimate strategy, you're in charge of the ultimate vision, and you're in charge of driving the work, right? Through your leader. So if you're a small business owner, like I am, you don't have too many leaders. I would say I have like 3. My executive assistant, which serves a kind of a leadership role in my small business. I have an online business manager, and then I have a project manager / scrum master. And so they lead their respective fields, and I'm like driving work down through them. And as we continue to bring on more people, for instance, I'm hiring coaches in my certification program, which you should totally check out if you haven't heard. I feel like I've been talking about it in every video, but my certification program is now open. So if you're interested in becoming a certified coach, and not only will you be certified by me, but my certification program is accredited. So if you want to become certified in an accredited program, figure out how to create your coaching program and then, learn how to sell it and build a whole business around it. We can talk to you about what it would look like to do that with you, because it's definitely something that we do with you. We don't just like give you, video modules and then we're like, bye. No, again, I'm hiring coaches. We're in there, we're supporting you. So if you want to learn more about that, you can click the links wherever they are on this video or in the show notes or what have you. But I say all that to say, I'm rapidly hiring people, right? I'm adding extra coaches, I'm adding extra enrollment coordinators. And now, not only am I like hiring people to do the work, I have to hire people to manage the people to do the work. So I'm truly building out an organization. And I'm finding that when you get to this level where this is your focus, all that like hustle, grind, we just gonna grind it out and we're just gonna do all of the work, that actually becomes like a detriment to you. You start to experience diminishing returns, right? That you might not have experienced when you were first getting started. And part of the reason why you start getting diminishing returns with that is because when you're a leader, the goal is actually not to do the work, but to build the team that will do the work. I actually saw that on Instagram from Natalie Dawson, who has a great account. You should totally check her out. Her and her husband run a very large enterprise, and she has a lot of great leadership tips and training, employee mindset, all of these different things. But she had this quote on Instagram, and I was like, oh, that is so true. Where she was saying, when you are a leader, you have to realize that you're not the one that builds the product, but you build the team that builds the product. And so that hustle, grind mindset can really come back to bite you, because if you're focused on doing all of the work, you're not focused on developing your team and growing your team. And a lot of growing your team and developing your team is about leadership, and it's about modeling and demonstrating leadership, right? It's not just telling someone or waving your finger at them and saying like, I need you to do this. These are your responsibilities. Are you on it, right? Holding them accountable. But to be a leader, you have to be inspiring in some regards, right? Your people, your leaders under you are going to be looking at you, seeing how you navigate, how you handle things. And if you're like, I just got to get the work done. I'm going to hustle, and I'm just going to like work hard. You might think that you're being inspiring, but really all you're doing is showing that you're really burned out. So one of the best ways to be an inspiring leader is to be sharp, is to be mentally focused, is to be calm and have a good presence about you. And it's very difficult to be like that on a consistent basis if you're not engaging in continuous self-care. So this is why I say, even though I think self-care should be mandatory for everybody, self-care is definitely mandatory for the CEO, because you're not going to be able to inspire your leaders if you're really haggard and burned out, right? And I think for women CEOs and women leaders especially, we might need to even prioritize self-care even more than our male counterparts, because oftentimes just the way, our lives are structured, and, we're oftentimes wives and mothers, and we're taking on other responsibilities in the home, it can feel like there's a lot on our shoulders. And I think we are more susceptible to getting burned out because we do so much. Again, we're usually the first ones who are caring for ailing parents, or or, engaged in volunteer activities. Like, we typically have a lot going on. And I find that women can often be very self-sacrificing, right? We are like, oh, it doesn't matter, just as long as the kids are taken care of and the household has everything that it needs and my staff is taken care of. And we can kind of get into this martyr syndrome where we're constantly like falling on the sword just to make sure that everybody else is taken care of. Again, that doesn't make for inspiring leadership. So CEOs need to make self-care mandatory, but especially women CEOs need to make self-care mandatory, because that is how you become an inspiring leader. But also how you become an inspiring leader is, again, having that vision and being able to see things that others can't see, that maybe people on your team can't see. And they're like learning from you, like, how is it that she has this vision and she's able to like, see around corners and come up with these ideas? Well, you're not going to be a creative, visionary person if you never give yourself time for those visions and that creativity to really percolate. And that's what I really noticed on the trip, right? So like I said, I was scared to go on this trip, not because I was scared to be on the boat, but I was scared to be away from my business for so long, because not only was the yacht trip technically 8 days, it was like 7 days at sea, but then we had a day where we were arriving. We also spent 3 days ahead of the yacht trip in Paris, right? So me and some of the other couples that were going on this yacht trip, we decided to tag on a few days in Paris because there were no direct flights to Croatia. So we were like, oh, if we have to stop over anyway, might as well just stop over in Paris, have a few days in Paris, really enjoy it, then go on to Croatia and do the yacht trip. And then we did something similar on the back end. We spent a day in Vienna on the back end because, again, there were no direct flights. So might as well spend time in a cool city and really enjoy it. So all in all, I was gone for like 2 weeks basically. And I was gonna, leave it to my team, who could hopefully run things without me. And I think that they did a great job. But because I was scared, like I said, I packed my laptop, I packed my iPad, I packed all the stuff because I was like, I'm gonna be needing to do work while I'm like on this trip. And it's funny how it worked out. One, I wasn't able to do work in Paris, even though I kind of wanted to, because the flight situation was so messed up, right? So I think I mentioned this in the episode about the Croatia trip. My flight was fine, right? Because I flew Air France and I was good. But I got there a day before my husband got there because he had some work engagements, and so he couldn't leave until a day after me. And because of that, I was able to get a better deal flying on Air France because I was leaving a day early. So I flew on Air France, but my husband and everyone else flew on United, and that just happened to be the time when United was having its complete meltdown, complete debacle over the 4th of July holiday. And everybody was trapped. It took my husband, he almost didn't make it to Croatia, right? He got to Paris on the last day that we were in Paris, and we were in Paris for 3 days ahead of time. And then the other couples who made it to Paris a day later, but then none of their luggage made it. So they ended up having to spend all the time in Paris shopping. Literally their luggage never made it for the entire trip. So they had to shop and buy new luggage so that they had clothes when they were in Croatia. So anyway, there was all this flight drama happening. I'm like, oh my goodness, is my husband gonna make it? I'm helping out the other couples, we're shopping, looking for clothes for them and different things. I couldn't really focus on work even if I wanted to. And so I was kind of already in the rhythm of not working, that by the time I got on the boat in Croatia, I was like, you know what? I haven't pulled out my laptop since I've been gone. I want to see if I don't break the streak. I want to see if I don't break it. And so I just really focused again on having inspiring conversations with the other entrepreneurial couples that were there, and then reading books on my Kindle. That's all I did. And then of course, we went on excursions in Croatia and got to sightsee and do all these amazing things. And the crazy thing, even though I wasn't working, I was getting so many amazing business ideas. I was being inspired constantly, even though I wasn't working. And so when I finally got back home and got to meet with my team and, really talk about the new ideas that I had, we were able to hit the ground running and launch new things, and all this new amazing stuff is happening in my business. I've come up with so much, that'll be a whole nother episode. All the new initiatives that I'm working on and different things that I'm building that came out of that inspiration from me, quote unquote, taking time off. And so it's just a really long-winded way to say that, again, self-care is mandatory, not just because it affects your presence and you're how you're an inspiring leader in terms of how you show up and you don't look all burned out, but it makes you an inspiring leader because it gives you time to come up with creative ideas that you ordinarily would not have come up with had you not taken the time to rest and had you not made self-care an ultimate priority. So if nothing else on the CEO journey, if you're on the same journey that I am, understand that self-care is mandatory. All right, the next thing that I do that really helps me with my self-care and my stress management is I actually prioritize peak performance. And I think we underestimate this if in the context outside of athletics, right? We understand that an athlete has to pretty much optimize like everything they're doing in order to perform at a high level, right? They have to optimize what they're eating, where those calories are coming from. They have to optimize their workouts, which muscles they're working on. They have to optimize their sleep, how much sleep they're getting, the quality of the sleep that they are getting, even sometimes the oxygen that they're breathing, right? There are certain sports or different athletes that will often, get in these like air chambers or whatever, I forget what it's called, and, breathe super fresh oxygen so that their blood is, oxygenated to the level that it needs to be at so that they can perform at an optimal level, right? We get it when it comes to like, professional athletes or Olympic athletes, but I find it interesting that we don't get it when it comes to peak performance in other areas. And so for me, what I found myself doing almost just naturally by virtue of I need to operate this way in order to get the output that I need to get for myself in order to lead my team, in order to grow my business, is I'm really, really prioritizing peak performance. And so I'm almost being like a business athlete, right? I am prioritizing my sleep. I am prioritizing what I'm eating, right? Because I notice shifts, right? There will be times where I'm just like, because I'm a foodie, like, and I live in Houston, right? The land of amazing food. So oftentimes it's like, you know what? I've been eating healthy. I've been eating salads all week. And there's something really delicious and deep fried that I'm like totally just going to go for it at lunch. And then I eat it because it looks amazing, but I end up feeling like crap. I have a headache, it's too much sodium, it's too salty, too much fat. My body's freaking out because we've been eating clean all week and now you're eating this crazy thing. And I'll find that like, oh man, now I have a migraine and I need to go lay down, or I have to take medication, or I'm just like sluggish and I'm not performing at optimal level, and I like lose a day. Why? Because I ate something crazy at lunch. And so now I pay attention to stuff like that. And again, it sounds like minor and it's not that big of a deal, but when your decisions have far-reaching impacts, not just for your team, but in terms of like the revenue that you're generating in your business, you have to start optimizing everything for peak performance, right? I limit what I take in. There are certain TV shows that I will not watch because I just find them disturbing, right? Like I know when everybody was watching, I think it was the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary on Netflix, or one of them crazy serial killers. I don't even know. Some serial killer TV show that everybody was like into, and there were all these like memes and reels about. And I was like, oh, absolutely not, right? I will not be watching that because I do not need nightmares at night. And then I need to get up in the morning and go to work, but I'm like meditating on this like crazy show and all these like horrific crimes that like these crazy people did. That's not even something that I want in my spirit. Like So there's TV shows that I won't watch. I don't really watch the news. It's funny because I always learn what the news is because people tell me, right? My mom will be like, oh, did you hear about this? Or my dad will tell me something, or sometimes even my husband. And I'm like, that's fine. I get my news secondhand. But in terms of like sitting down and watching like the 7 o'clock news, or I don't even know what time the news comes on, 6 o'clock news, I don't watch it. I don't watch national news. I don't watch local news. I don't go on CNN.com. It's not bookmarked on my browser. I don't engage in news. I learn about the important things because people will tell me or will talk about it. But in general, I find that news is extremely negative, especially the local news, because they're always telling you how many people got murdered today? How many people got robbed? This crazy thing happened. This is going on. This is terrible. And it just really puts you in a constant state of fear. And that state is not something that I can be in order to run my business effectively. So again, I am optimizing for peak performance. When do I need to sleep? How do I need to sleep? What do I need to eat? What do I need to consume? What people do I need to hang out with, right? What types of friends do I need to have? Do I have friends that are always just like gossiping about nonsense and talking about the Kardashians? Or do I have friends that are on the same journey that I am and have the same values that I do and are focused on the same goal? Again, iron sharpens iron, peak performance, right? So I find that not enough people who endeavor to really grow their business and become the CEO of their business, they don't prioritize peak performance. They're still trying to live the life that they've always lived, but they want to get outcomes that they've never gotten before, and it doesn't work like that, right? I know Dave Ramsey says this in the context of like paying off debt, but he's like, live like no one else so that later you can live like no one else. Well, I think that applies to every arena, especially growing a business and, being a CEO, managing your stress, getting involved in self-care, making it a regular thing. You're going to live like no one else. People are going to think that you're crazy, right? Why are you taking these like extravagant trips? Because that's how I blow off steam, right? That's the best way for me to blow off steam. That's the best way for me to be inspired, right? I've even started to add massages to my regular rotation because I'm working in front of a computer. I'm doing videos like this, I'm being active in this way. I work out consistently. I work out 5 days a week. Physically, I need massages at least on a monthly basis to kind of dissipate a lot of the tension that I am carrying, in my neck and in my shoulders and just with everything that I have going on, right? Running after little kids. Like, I need to constantly make sure that I am like operating at optimal peak performance. And that means that I often engage in things that other people might think are crazy or it's too much or why are you spending money on that? Even things like Instacart, DoorDash, a dry cleaning pickup, right? There's a lot of like errands that I don't run anymore because it takes up too much time. It's too much stress. I don't want to be dealing with like, oh, you're dry cleaning. Yeah, we lost the thing. Like, I'm like, speak to my executive assistant. She's got the card on file, right? She can handle all of that stuff. Have it delivered to my house. I'm not about to fight with you at the grocery store or wait in long lines. Like, again, some people might think like, oh, that's being too diva-like. No, that's being CEO-like because I know what I need in order to be peak performance, right? To engage in peak performance in my company. And so regardless of what it is that you are trying to do, if you want to be the best at it and you want to create outcomes that are extraordinary, right? Extraordinary, above the ordinary from what other people are getting, you're going to have to start engaging in behaviors that other people are not engaging in. And so really, really mind your peak performance. All right, the next thing that you'll want to prioritize for your self-care and stress management, and I kind of talked about this in the previous step, is that you'll need to get with those who get it, right? Get with those who get it. And what I mean is create a circle and an environment of relationships with people who understand you, who understand what you are trying to accomplish, and again, are running the same type of race that you're running. And even if they're not running the same type of race that you are running, again, they understand what you are trying to do and they support you, right? So I know that I am blessed and I'm fortunate that I have extremely supportive family members around me, right? My husband is extremely supportive. Even my kids are like, oh, mommy, did you make your videos? They're all excited about what I'm doing. My parents are really supportive, right? They picked up and moved, right, from the Midwest to Texas where I am so that they can be closer to me and our kids and like support me. And raising them, right? And being available as I continue to do different things in my business and travel and, all the different endeavors that I am engaged in. My friends are super supportive, checking in on me. And then, I have lifelong friendships. So people that I've known since high school and since college that are super supportive. But then I have new friendships, relatively new friendships since moving to the city of other entrepreneurial women, other entrepreneurial couples where we are all like supporting each other and giving each other business, giving each other business insights, referring each other. Like, we get it, right? And so I feel really fortunate that I'm around people who get it. But I think if you don't have that circle, it's really important that you find it because at the end of the day, you want to know you're not crazy, right? Again, people might think I'm crazy because like, why do you DoorDash everything? Why do you have your dry cleaning delivered? Why do you go on trips? Why do you not watch the news, right? But again, my circle, my people get it. And they're like, girl, I get it. And I'm like, thank you. Sometimes you just need to be seen where it's like, can you believe that they think I'm crazy? I'm not crazy. They're crazy because I know that this is what is required in order to achieve my goals. And they're like, yeah, girl, I know. I get it. And it's just like a breath of fresh air where you're like, they get it. Like, you want to have someone in your corner, even if it's just one person who's like, I get it. I see you. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. No, you're not crazy. You're a visionary, right? You're a CEO and I support you. And I think that you should, continue at it, right? That type of emotional support, again, people downplay it. Everybody likes to be the Lone Ranger. I don't need nobody. I don't need anybody. I got myself. We all we got, right? All this mindset, it's ridiculous. You do need a support system and you do need people in your corner. You don't need a lot of people, but if you have the right people, sometimes it's just one or two people, right? And I get it. Not everybody is blessed and fortunate enough to have family members that are really in their corner. And that could be very distressing, right? Maybe it's having a good therapist in your corner, right? Or a good psychologist who understands your trauma, who understands what you have been through, and again, can give you the tools that you need in order to process your past pain so that you can move forward. So whatever it is, right? Whether it is a spouse, a best friend, family members, a qualified mental health professional, a pastor, whatever, make sure that you have people who get it in your corner so that they can support you. All right, and the next thing that I do to really manage my stress and practice self-care, this might sound contradictory or kind of like a crazy thing, but sometimes I just lean into the stress, right? And I know that it's a good thing because some stress is actually growing pains. And I'm not just making this up. There's actually a concept. There's stress, but within stress, there is distress and there is eustress, right? Now, distress is bad, right? We don't want to be in a distressed state where we're like, oh my goodness, having heart palpitations and it's like physically affecting us in a negative way. That's distress, right? But eustress is actually good stress, meaning it's challenging you. It's forcing you to step up at a level that maybe is outside of your comfort zone. But once you do it and you get comfortable, you have now increased your capacity, right? Again, we think about working out. When you're lifting weights, you're putting your muscles under stress and the muscles are actually tearing. But when you rest and they grow back and now your muscles are bigger, again, you have just increased your capacity. You have just increased your strength, all because you put your physical body under a good amount of stress that was purposeful and that was for a particular aim or direction. And so I know with me that there's some stress that is just comes with the territory, right? There's some stress that I actually can't avoid. And there's some stress that I'm kind of raising my hand to take on because I'm saying I want to be the CEO of a global business and I want to do all these things and build this business and yada, yada. Well, by raising my hand and saying that I want those things, by definition, there are some things that I'm going to take on that are going to be stressful, at least in the beginning, as I learn to grow into it and I learn to become comfortable with it. But I understand that the more I stay in the role and the more I get comfortable with everything that comes with the territory, things that used to stress me out are not going to stress me out anymore because my capacity will have increased and I'll become a bigger and better person for it. And I'll be able to handle that stress even more. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things where I'm like, man, I could freak out about this, but I think this is a lesson. I think this is a growing pain that I need to go through in order to be the type of person that I said that I want to be. And so sometimes I don't make it mean anything bad. I'm like, yeah, this situation is stressing me out, but I'm actually kind of grateful for it because it means that I'm growing. It means that I'm entering into a new level that is higher than where I was before and that I have access to things that I wouldn't have had access to. And it's only stressful because it's uncomfortable, but I'm confident that I'm going to be able to get through this, especially because I have all these other systems in place, right? I operate in peak performance. I've got a group of people who get it, right? I'm making my self-care mandatory. Like I'm focusing on all these other things. I trust that I'm going to be able to get through it. And I'm really excited to get to the other side because when I get to the other side, I'll be a bigger person for it, right? That's the mindset that I have for a lot of the stresses that come with trying to grow a business and trying to be a CEO. And, quite frankly, I'm really grateful for it. All right, thanks so much for watching this video or listening to this podcast if you're listening to this on iTunes and Spotify. Hopefully this inspired you. Again, if you are looking to build your own coaching practice and you want to become a certified coach, I implore you to check out my certification program. We are now enrolling for our next cohort, so you can click the link in the show notes or the description box to learn more about it and to book a call with either myself or someone else on my enrollment team. But with that, this has been my podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. And either way, make sure you're following me on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.